Hello guys and girls, welcome back. So today we're talking about how to make your samples sound better with music theory. So I've just been browsing Splice and my own sample collection as well, and it's clearly apparent that not just Record Box and Beatport, Mixed in Key get this wrong, but as you can imagine, I've identified several samples that have got the wrong labels. As it turns out, it's much more of a minefield than just the labeling of the whole tracks is, because at least when there's a whole track there, the algorithm has a standard bass line all the way through to try and latch onto, something like that. Whereas when it's just a melody, a single note line, or a complex sounding chord stab, sometimes these algorithms really struggle. And also, don't assume the people uploading these musical parts know the correct musical information either. And that's where I come in. So hopefully today I can teach you how to identify when it's wrong and what you can do about it. So here's our first example. This is called E minor Techno Soul Stab. And if you listen to it playing back over our tech house track in A here. How does that sound to you? Sounds fine, right? Well, yes, you're correct. It is fine. This is what we like to call a happy accident. Is that because E fits over A? Well, E can fit over A, but in this case, it's just been mislabeled. It's already in A. Now, I can tell that, but imagine you want to take the author's word for it and treat it as E. To get from E to A, which is where we are, all we do is count up to A from E, and that's a distance of 5. So we go plus 5. Which you think sounds better? This one? Or this one? Now, of course, there's no actual rules. You use whichever sounds best to you. And if you're going for a more edgy or tense production, you might deliberately choose sounds which match that emotion and technically might not be in tune or whatever. I mean, listen what happens if I just place this up 1. See, technically that would be neither in A or E, but that might be exactly what you're going for. But regardless, hopefully you can hear this one is at home. It just sits right. Let me give you another example here. So this one is called A sharp minor city stab. Obviously a reference to big phones in a city. It's labelled A sharp, so we bring it down 1. It sounds okay. Or more accurately, parts of it sound okay. Because this is another limitation of these simple key systems. They don't show chord progressions. So unless you just happen to magically have 2 tracks with the same progression, it's unlikely they'll work together, even if they're in the same key. See, in this example, we're running a tech house track here, and lots of tech house doesn't change chord at all. It stays what we call on the 1. It's just on the first chord, the home key, planted, solid. If it's in A minor, that's going to be an A all the way through the track. Now, you might think they've labelled this sample A sharp minor because it starts on A sharp minor. But unfortunately, music isn't that simple. We don't always start on the 1 chord. In genres that do move chords, for example, deep house, piano house, progressive house, to name a few, it's just as likely that they start on the home key as it is that they don't. In this particular example, it's the last chord, the fourth chord, which is the home key. Let me loop that and show you. Much better. As you can hear, it's no longer just okay, that works now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you a trick to find out what these samples are actually playing, which should make them far easier to fit into your track. Hopefully you can hear there is movement here. Hear it pitching about. There are 4 chords here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And your instinct might be just to grab one of those chords and grab a tuner app. So let's try that. But as you can see, the tuner has no clue. Nothing's lighting up. That's because tuners are for monophonic instruments, meaning they can only hear one tone at a time, one note. And in fact, this is how most digital ears work, apart from probably Melodyne. They're listening for one dominant tone. So if I play a single note through this, on the piano, you can see that's correct. That's an A. This, however, this is a full chord. No such luck. It won't tell us. So what I suggest you do is there's a free VST analyzer plugin by Voxengo called Span. You might even already have this one for analyzing frequencies. But what's great about Span is it shows you pitch equivalents of frequencies. And if we show Span on this sample, we can clearly see some peaks. These are the notes of the chord. So if I hover my mouse over the biggest peaks, in the top left there you can see 95 Hertz, that's a G. The one above that is D, 145. And the one above that is another G at 192. So I'm getting G vibes here, but we're in A. So if I just pitch this sample up 2, that's the distance from G to A, this should fit. Yep, not bad. I think we'll wrap up this video here. I do feel a part 2 coming on. There's more to say on this subject. So in summary, let's just say, like my last video, that we shouldn't presume the key is correct on the label, and that samples can have moving chord progressions. So try to listen out for that. So until the next video, hit like if you learned something, hit sub if you loved it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.